One American congressman called the Spanish-American War the splendid little war, not because nobody died, but because it was so quick. It lasted 114 days, and the United States is going to take a lot of territory at the end of this. In fact, they're going to wreck the Spanish Empire at this point, which basically just withers away. The Spanish-American War outcomes, again, only last 114 days. The United States, initially, when it started, did not attack Cuba because tentatively we were supposed to be fighting the Spanish because they were being mean to the Cubans and we were going to help liberate Cuba. But that's not what happens. No, the reason that they started the war was the United States was looking for markets and materials, specifically access to the Asian market and the raw material of sugar. So the United States first attacks the Spanish territory of the Philippines. And they made sure that they took the Spanish Philippines first because they wanted to make sure that they had that territory before the war was over because they knew it wouldn't last very long. So they want that access to the Chinese market in the Pacific. So they want the access to the Asian markets. Initially, the United States was welcomed as liberators by the Filipino freedom fighters led by, I don't want to get the name wrong. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Teddy Roosevelt is going to make a name for himself in the Spanish-American War. He leads a group of people known as the Rough Riders. Remember, we've gone back in time a little bit. Roosevelt is not yet president. He's not even vice president. He was the assistant secretary of the Navy, and he resigns to lead this group of volunteers known as the Rough Riders, and he's going to become a war hero leading the charge at San Juan Hill. He becomes so popular with the imagination of the Americans because he's this young, energetic, good-looking war hero that he's going to be named vice president nominee when McKinley runs for office in 1900. One congressman said, "Dear God, he's one heartbeat away from the presidency," which is exactly what happens because McKinley's assassinated in 1900 when Teddy Roosevelt's then going to take over as president. Other outcomes for the Spanish-American War: the United States is going to take, eventually, this is the next couple of things we'll talk about, is the Philippines. In the Caribbean, they're going to annex Puerto Rico, still a territory of the United States today. A lot of talk about that recently. People in Puerto Rico, by the way, are citizens of the United States. And they're going to take the Pacific territory of Guam, which is next to, it's kind of in between Philippines and Hawaii. And the United States said that Cuba would remain independent. Cuba didn't get to participate in the treaty that ended the war. And the United States is going to help Cuba write a new constitution. And in that new constitution, they're going to include something referred to as the Platt Amendment. So Cuba is going to be independent. But because of the Platt Amendment in the Cuban Constitution, the United States could intervene at any time it felt Cuban independence was threatened. In other words, Cuba's not really independent.